Hello, everybody. Oh, it's on. Hello. As mentioned, I'm Robert Purchase, a writer for Eurogamer. And I'm here. I've been asked to come here a few years. I've been invited to come here, so very lucky. I've been reporting on the Polish industry for a bit, just in case you're wondering who the hell I am and why I'm here. I'm going to try and introduce everyone with the correct pronunciation here, so bear with me. On my left here, we have Michał Nowakowski and Marcin Iwiński from Projekt. And to his left, we have Paweł Marchewka from Techland. Then from Vivid Games, we have Jarosław Wojczakowski. And then on the end, we have Michał Drozdowski from 11-bit. How was that? Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Dziękuję. So last year, I hosted a similar panel, and the topic or the theme seemed to be that the Polish games industry was entering a kind of golden age. There were some big games made by many of these companies here, and all eyes from the West, from the UK where I work from, and people were concentrating on the Polish games industry. But of course it's been a year since then, so to kick off I wanted to ask the people of the panel about some of the challenges they faced in the year, their year of success. So I'm going to start on the other end. So Michał, would you like to tell me a bit about some of the challenges 11-bit have faced in the past year, please? You might need to grab a...
Yeah, sure. Of course, this War of Mine was the biggest success of the last year for us, and it kind of allowed us to grow and to think about different area, not only game development, but also publishing, and also trying to launch our online shop. Well, the biggest challenge for us, I think, during the last year is actually to grow up and still create the kind of titles that we are used to creating, which means kind of semi-indie, semi-professional games with kind of a social approach a bit to what we are presenting, and to have a meaning, to have a important decision in the game, to be kind of commenting on the reality. So this is kind of what we have managed the last year.
Yeah. Okay, and then we'll move it. So Vivid Games will have quite different challenges, I imagine, focusing on mobile games. So what kind of challenges have you faced in the last year?
Well, to be honest, the last year was very important for us, because we released the Redboxing 2 with the IP, which is the Creed movie. And after that, the whole content from the Rocky series came out to the game, so it was very difficult to handle all the things connected with the IP, with the MGM. The whole deal was very big for us, and we learned a lot about the cooperation with such companies.
Okay, thank you very much. And then Paweł, you had great success with Dying Light, but what challenges did you face in the last year?
Well, in the last year, I think we've been thinking how to use this success to move to the next level. What else can we do, having such a great success, to have ambitious plans? So I think this. The numbers we achieved start to becoming really difficult to have ambitious goals. Obviously, we have some room on the quality sides, but that was our main challenge.
Okay, and you know, it's tempting to think you guys, you know, it's probably the most prestigious game to come out of Poland in the last year. It's hard to think that you had any challenges, you know, that you've just been, you know, floating on success, but I'm sure that's not the reality. Or is it?
I mean, you know, first I want to name the main challenge that actually John will be talking about in an hour, finishing a game, a very ambitious game, a pretty big, sizable game, because we moved the release date twice. And we set the quality bar really high, so we were aiming above 90. We delivered that, and that was amazing. I think you've been there, the studio, just before we shipped, so you've seen how it works, and we didn't know until the very last moment. So that was the first part. But then looking at actually what Paweł touched upon, the worldwide success, it's really going out there and making sure the game, I mean, we use the game's potential and put it in the hands of gamers all around the world. So we did, 14, 15 localized versions, and we actually set up deals in every single territory one by one. Thanks to that, we are able to achieve the sales result with it and get, use the hype, channel the hype to sales. And that was an amazing achievement because we've actually built a whole publishing organization for that. Of course, being in touch with gamers, putting gamer in the front, having a great gamer-centric proposition, but still, there was a lot of field work, and we've been preparing for that for around 3 years, so almost as long as the development.
Yeah, you mentioned it there. There's a tendency, I think, for gamers and for people to think that as soon as a company releases a game, maybe there'll be some DLC, some expansions perhaps, but there's a tendency to think that they just move straight on to the next thing. Michał, I'm going to jump straight back over to you. How much work is there to do following the release of a game? How much work do you still have to do on that game?
Well, basically, the first thing is that you want to create ports of the game. For us, it was the PS4 port. And that took like half an hour, half a year. Yeah, thank you. And on the other side, actually this War of Mine was a title that we wanted to be connected to the people who like that. So we wanted to supply them with DLC, mostly free DLC. And it's actually an ongoing process that lasts for all the year, just inventing a bit more things that we could communicate to the player and give them. So this is like ongoing process. It's not finished.
When do you get to a point where you can draw the line? How do you decide when you can draw the line under a game and move on to the next thing?
Well, it all depends on the amount of work and the amount of creative work that we need to do, because we can actually, what we do, we actually can split the team, because after 2 years of development, a lot of people are a bit already overcharged with the problem, especially if it's a game when you are constantly in a stress, in a depressing mood when you play it, that you want to relax at some point. And of course, what we do is we split the team, and it all depends, but actually a few months after release we can do that.
Yeah. Jarosław, is it different for Vivid, because is there much post-release support that you need to do, or can you move on quite quickly to the next game?
Well, not really, because the mobile games and the free-to-play market is different than the consoles. So the game is like a service. So the launch of the game is only the starting point, to be honest. So it means that after the hard launch, you have to keep update the game constantly. For example, we updated the real boxing for over 3 years. So it's a huge amount of time. And the team working on the readboxing tool is almost the same as it was during the development. So for us, almost nothing changed. We are still working on the game, doing some new things and so on. But of course, we are starting the new project, the Metal Fist, and we mix the teams to share the knowledge and whole experience, and give the possibility to the key people at our company to work on something new.
Okay, thank you. Paweł, was it always part of the plan with Dying Light to offer lots of post-release support, to release lots of patches and to release an expansion, or did that thinking come later? How far in advance do you plan?
Well, originally we planned to support our players much more than for the previous products. In the previous products we were a little bit blocked by our publishers and their policy of releasing patches and other updates. So even if we wanted to correct something, we always had a partner who was not sure whether we should really put that much money in it, and it was not only our work but also their work, so it was difficult really to force that. But here we didn't have anyone to really consult with, so we wanted to support the game. We had initial plans to do that, but as you said, also during this process we changed it and put much more dedication and work to support it, and it eventually became, I think, quite heavily support, which has been noticed worldwide. But it started from that, and then I think it went over what we initially planned.
To Marcin or Michał, you supported The Witcher 2 for a long time, and then of course there was an enhanced edition, as there was with The Witcher 1. The Witcher 3 is about to get its second expansion. Do you feel there's an expectation from your fans now that they are going to get a year and a half of post-game support? Do you feel burdened by that expectation, or is it something you enjoy doing, or how do you feel about it?
I'm not sure I understood the question. Are you asking if people expect a year and a half of new expansions after the second expansion?
Because you've done it previously, so if you don't do it this time, they're going to feel, I don't know, upset perhaps?
I think we did something completely entirely different this time than we did previous time, because previously there were no additional DLCs, small DLCs released after The Witcher 2. There was no expansion packs really. There was Enhanced Edition, which was a different thing. You may call it Game of the Year or something like that. We didn't call it like that. We call it Enhanced Edition. So it was a different kind of animal than what we're doing, what we've done right now. This was actually a very, very big challenge. This was pre-designed. I mean, meaning we were planning for a big support, for longer support for The Witcher 3 since before we actually launched the game, and we loved actually the response we got from players from the fact that we released the small DLCs with the response we got to the first expansion, which was really great, and we were really stretched. Actually, it was a big challenge, touching back to the previous question, to make that sprint, make that run, make that additional crunch for the team, both dev team and promotional team, as a matter of fact, because things did not slow down after The Witcher 3 launched. It was actually just the beginning of the race. So this was kind of new to us. And right now with the expansion number 2, this is sort of where we put the the end mark on the Witcher 3, to be honest. So, and we've been quite open about that since quite a while. So I don't think that people are expecting like a year and a half of additional stuff. I mean, you have to draw a line somewhere and put a stop so that people can reshuffle, refocus on some other stuff to be done. Yeah.
So this is something I wanted to talk about. If last year was all about the games being a success, here we are now this year, and we're kind of looking at what comes next. And for most of you, you've had one game or one series which has defined your company. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on how you decide and when you decide on what comes next. How do you decide from sequelizing, which must be attractive because people know your studio for that and there's an audience there, or how do you decide for new IP? I'll start with Paweł in the middle for this one, because yesterday, in fact, you made the announcement that you are working on some new games. How do you decide whether you want to do new IP, which must be quite scary, or how do you decide whether you want to kind of leverage a brand that you've already created and made a success of?
Okay. Well, it's not that scary. That's I think we've done it in the past a few times. That's why we're not that scared, and it's very exciting to go to new places. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's easier for us to decide about the new IP. But yeah, well, we always look at the potential of the products and also, as I said, the ideas for the new ones, and somehow have a long discussions, and then we come up to some options we have, and this time we have at least one new IP announced. We'll see about the second. Yeah, but I think it's hard to say really what are the rules for that. But I think the potential and the ideas behind it is something which is the most important. Sometimes you have the ideas for the sequel, then you should stick with the sequel. if you have great ideas for something really new and it's not the sequel, you should stick to something new.
Yeah. To Michał Drozdowski, it would be easy for you, not easy, but it would be tempting for you to make This War of Mine 2. That game had amazing success that I don't think I was expecting. I don't know if you guys were expecting it. So it would be comfortable for you to do This War of Mine 2, but you're not doing that.
Yes, we're not doing that because it's a bit tricky with this title. It's a pretty close title in terms of what we wanted to communicate as a message and to express. And as you said, that would be very tempting to make This War of Mine 2 straight away. But I think that approaching this kind of IP this way would actually not be a good concept. So we decided to kind of move more to DLC, to satisfy the player through DLC. And the idea with the IP is something that we are still keeping in our head, but we want to be exceptional, not just creating the sequel of it. Yeah. Just having some kind of absolutely different things to communicate about war and about all the situation that happened over there. Yeah.
Jarosław, how important is it for you maintaining a brand identity in the mobile market? Is it scary to veer away from that and try something new? Do you need to do things that people recognize? Because I get the impression that people aren't as maybe clued up about the developers making the mobile games as they are the developers making console games. I don't feel like there's that same relationship. What's it like? What's your experience?
Well, as I already said, the mobile games are as like a service. So of course we have the real boxing. We call it real boxing 2 because it's using the new technology, and it's a different game because it's designed from scratch as a free-to-play game. But I think that we have the easiest situation because on the mobile market, the project budget is much lower than on the PC or on the consoles. And from the other hand, we can very easily test the game. So we can create some MVP and then put it on the market, do the soft launch and check how the game is going. Do the players love the game or maybe not, and then kill this project and start the new one. So we can check our ideas very frequently. In a half of the year we can launch the game, not globally but only in several countries, and then see what happens. And from the other hand, we don't want to create the brand itself at our company, so we are mostly looking around the world and trying to merge the game with the IPs that are already on the market, like we did with Rocky, for example.
Yeah, thank you. And Marcin, this is a big moment for your studio because, of course, The Witcher has been your last kind of decade, if not longer. How does it feel to be kind of moving away from that and onto something new?
It feels a little bit sad. I was crying actually last night. No, but seriously, it does feel a little bit sad. But I think the time comes. And I think we're lucky enough that early on, when we were working on Witcher 1, we've announced that this will be a trilogy. So we're actually delivering on the promise. And we've also clearly said several times that will not just keep on producing games, annualize the franchise or whatnot, what obviously is very tempting. But for us, we have to be passionate about what we're doing, and I think, yes, we are very passionate about Witcher, the whole team is, but it's time to give it a rest, a substantial rest. It's been, I think, even I was counting it recently, more like 12 years with the franchise. So right now, pretty much it's the time of Cyberpunk, and I cannot talk about it, but I can mention a few things, how we came up with this particular IP, and actually our business model, it's different than, for example, Vivid's. So we really want to own the IP, that we want to have the full creative freedom, we don't want to be constrained. So we are always looking at possible opportunities with this in mind. And the main driving factor is that we have to be excited. I mean, you know, a substantial part of people at the company have to be excited about it. And we really looked at many, many things. And then there was the Cyberpunk opportunity. We tried one angle, second angle, and we came up with what we do with Mike Pondsmith. We've actually acquired the rights. And this really fueled us because sometimes, you know, there is a fraction we're throwing, hey, let's go with this. And people are like, yeah, we love it. And the other fraction is like, no, we really hate it. And then, you know, it's off the table because we have to bring something fresh and really unite the developers, a lot of developers around it. Because if we'll make this choice, this is more like a, you know, like a relationship. We are staying there for many years to come, hopefully, yes.
How long did it take you to kind of decide upon what came next? I mean, I know Cyberpunk's been a thing for a while now that, you know, you announced it originally a while ago, but did it take a long time to actually find something that you could move on to?
Well, honestly speaking, maybe not so long, to be honest, as far as I recall.
12 years?
No. I mean, we were discussing something in the genre for about a year, maybe, I think. We're looking at various things, and in the end, we came up with the pen and paper RPG system, which we have known. Some of us have actually played it in the high school times. As a matter of fact, then I reached out to Talsorian. They had a pretty dormant website, I think, at that time. Just dropped them an email saying, hey, do you want to talk? And they responded actually 2 days later, I think. I don't think they were checking the emails too often at that time. And yeah, things have started. And but once the idea was brought on the table, I think we all kind of thought like, okay, this could actually work. I mean, there would be things we would need change, but this is something that could actually work. And since we started conversation, the things went relatively fast, as far as I recall.
But I think altogether, it was around 2 years from the start, from the beginning. We're also thinking about other things, but nothing really clicked that well. So I think it was like we all felt we want to do Cyberpunk setting, and then we started really approaching it more actively to like, so what could we possibly acquire or find in terms of the IP, because we wanted to have something substantial, similar to the situation to The Witcher, where we already have something that we can build on, and here it's great because it's a pen and paper RPG.
Yeah. Michał Drozdowski, how tricky was it for you guys working out what to do next? Because this War of Mine is a kind of a singular game. It's quite a unique experience. How do you, how did you decide how to follow that?
Okay, what we actually have a path that we have chosen along with making this War of Mine is a bit to try to use the game medium to create games that can kind of comment on the reality, or can put the player into ambiguous choices, or to kind of have some other subject that just a subject coming up from the game industry to talk about. And this is pretty much the path that we want to follow. So we are looking for this kind of subjects that we could kind of try to make a game around it, instead of making a game in a genre or such kind of ideas. And yeah, that's basically how we came up with the next title, by analyzing. Also, it's pretty much a very similar situation, because we are, of course, analyzing opportunities. And what Marcin said, it has to be something that moves everyone, or at least a lot of people, because you are going to spend the next 2 years, for us, for example, developing the title, which means that you really have to be motivated, and you really have to love the project to actually deliver it right and to make others love it. So,
yeah.
So
Thank
that's
you.
how it goes.
One of the other things about success of a studio is great. Obviously, it brings in money. You know, it's exactly what you want your game to be a success. But I wonder if there's a burden that comes with that success, in that your audience expects more, and perhaps under pressure you feel like you need to grow, to expand, to cope with that pressure, or to meet those expectations, and things start to get a bit out of control. I don't know, I don't run a company. Paweł, I'll jump to you in the middle. Is this something that you think about, trying to manage expectations? You know, with great success does come great expectation.
Yes, of course. Although I think, yes, we try to predict and listen to our fans, and we have obviously a lot of suggestions and things which our players love in our games. As it happens, most of it is what we love about our game and our gameplay. So quite often we have already a long list of improvements and next steps for what we want to deliver. So I think yes, we are a little bit scared whether we are going to deliver enough, at least for the initial period of time, because quite quickly we come to the stage where the list is so long that we obviously need to choose what needs to be done and what needs to be maybe left. But you never know. Yeah, I think we want to improve almost every aspect of our game always. We have some elements we thought were not initially that important, but players or journalists see it as elements which needs to be even better. Yeah, there is always this uncertainty of whether we do enough for the sequel, of course, but it's exciting as well. It's a different excitement than a new IP, of course. Yeah, then you don't know whether you're delivering something people are going to enjoy, but it's there. Yes, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Thanks, Jarosław. Is there a temptation to grow and grow and do more and more? When do you say stop? How do you know when enough is enough?
Well, it depends on two things, I think. The first one is the money, of course, and then the second one, the people, because you can't grow without the people. So the talent is very important. Of course, you can hire the juniors, but it's not a good way, because you need to spend some time to learn them, to have the right producers, the right leaders in the teams, to be able to do the game right, in the right way, and have a control on the company, because when there are some points that if you can go ahead, you can miss the control of the project, how it's going, is it the right direction, and so on. So you need to have the right the people in the company to share the vision and all the stuff. Yeah. So it depends.
Marcin and Michał, we've seen companies like, I'm not comparing you to them, but we've seen companies.
Thank you.
We've seen companies like Activision and EA have big success with big brands, but then grow their companies massive to try and cope with that. So you have something like 1,000 people working on Assassin's Creed, and then all of a sudden they're so big they can't afford not to do that. Do you ever feel the temptation to bring up the numbers like that so that you can make more things, so your capacity increases? How do you guard against that?
We totally don't, actually. And when we've announced our 6-year strategy, we clearly said that we have Cyberpunk, we have another thing this year, a new format for us, and then there'll be another AAA, and that's what we planned. So you could expect some people saying like, hey, that's not enough. I mean, guys, you made so much money, so right now make a game on a big RPG every single year. But that's not us. I think I started the company in '94, so we've learned a lot in different kinds of businesses. One core thing and one biggest lesson for me, and that's maybe my character and our management sort of feature, is that we have to do a very small number of things, because then we can excel in them. We cannot do a lot of things, because then nothing really works and it becomes a mess. That's why we are doing big projects, and very, very few of them, and put everything we have on that. And that Witcher 3 is the best example. And actually, I think the success, of course, it's a great responsibility, but it's more responsibility for the gamers, and being able to stand in front of them with the next game and saying, hey, it's great, and we truly believe that, and we work really hard, and we hope you enjoy it. But this is this kind of responsibility, so it's really an empowering one. While at the same time, the fact that finally we can fund whatever we want to fund ourselves without asking anyone gives us great creative freedom, and I hope we'll be able to prove it with the next game.
Yeah. So I want to open it to questions after one final question, so think about some questions if you have them. So to bring it back to the Polish industry, and I'll go down the line here, so I'll start with Michał Drozdowski first. What's the biggest challenge facing you and the Polish industry in the year ahead?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what the biggest opportunity, maybe not the challenge, is the fact that we have such a growth of small companies and small projects or starting projects going on, and it's a very fantastic thing to see, because many of them has already achieved some kind of small success or will just achieve a success in the future, and that means that they will grow. They probably, each of them will have some substantial financial input and make them grow, which means that the whole industry will get bigger, and we will have a bigger market of designers, artists, producers. And I think that's the most fantastic thing that's happening. And it's, of course, it's at the same time, this is a challenge, because the market gets a bit more crowded, and we have to be better with what we do. But that's how it should be.
Yeah. Jarosław, how about you? What challenges or what opportunities do you see for Vivid in the year ahead?
That's two things. The first one is the new project we are working on, so I hope that it will be a very cool game, and it is something new for us. It's a different genre, so we'll see. And then the second one is the whole publishing problem, because we were on it last year, so we are focusing on publishing the mobile games from other developers who are not having the right people, or they just don't have enough money to promote the game. They don't have the contacts to the sales channels, the stores, and so on. So that's the challenge for us to find the interesting games and then publish them as Reboxing, for example.
Yeah, thank you. And Paweł, Marchewka, how about you? What are the challenges for Techland in the year ahead, or just for the Polish industry in the year ahead, do you think?
Okay, so I think we have two challenges ahead of us. One is how to make sure we effectively produce two big projects, and that's a kind of organizational challenge, obviously, and the other one is how to make sure we exceed the results we managed to create with Dying Light, obviously, which are pretty high, and we need to make sure this time we do everything as good or better to have the results better than for this game.
Yeah, thank you. And Marcin or Michał, what are the challenges for you in the year ahead, and perhaps what are the challenges for the Polish industry that you see from your perspective?
In terms of us, I would say, to begin with the first part of the question, is I wouldn't call it a challenge, but something we want to stay true to is to stay true to the players, keep delivering, and keep being laser focused on what we're doing. And it's actually part of the strategy we have, which Marcin mentioned before. I mean, not do tons of stuff at the same time, but let us stay laser focused and keep in that. And I really do hope we're going to be able to do that. I think the team is in the right place, the people are in the right place. I hope we're going to be able to achieve that. In terms of the whole industry, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's very diversified, so it's very, very difficult. I think the Polish industry really came out of the closets. It's not just a Polish kind of field. I mean, people are doing stuff which is being recognized and is being successful all over the world. I mean, the companies that are here, but not only, also smaller companies like the guys behind Superhot or the Timberman project, which is a bit older, but there's great stuff coming up, and I just hope we're going to see more and more of that later
Brilliant.
on.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a few small things that I really think that this year we've all shown that we can go out there and deliver games which pretty much kick ass and are really meaningful for the gamers all around the world, regardless of the scale. But we matter and we add really important input to the gaming industry, and gamers enjoy it. So I really hope, and this is a challenge for years to come for the Polish gaming industry. I would really love games to become an important part of the Polish economy, because many years ago, when I'm traveling a lot, so I'm often asked, "So you're from Poland, so what do you produce? What are your export products?" The first two things, and I'm ashamed of that, sorry, that were coming to my mind: vodka and sausages. Kielbasa, so to speak. And right now, I can proudly say these are games. And I would like this to become really something big for Poland. So this is an ongoing challenge, but I think we've all shown that we can go out there and compete with the big boys. We can deliver spectacular experiences. And first of all, they matter as great games. And only then people say, wow, these guys are from Poland. And I would really like it to stay like that.
Fantastic. So I'd like to open it to some questions. I hope you have some. If you do, pop your hand up and we'll bring a microphone to you and then you can fire away. So, do we have any questions? People leaving, that's the wrong thing.
The toilet is to the left, actually.
Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Oh, no one here.
Is this working? Okay. Especially since you announced yesterday the gaming program and Poland is doing so well. You have a games association now. You have like so many events and conferences in Poland. You're like the top leading ones, one of the top leading ones in Europe. Do you see Poland actually rising as one of the top games market in a few years of Europe? Is it becoming the top games market in Europe? You see that? Because there's no other country actually which put in like 18 million of euros into the game development. France had only 4 million.
Canada had way more.
Depends on what you mean by games market. If you mean how many games, what's the value of games sold in Poland? No. Not yet, definitely, not in a few years. I mean, the population is sizable, but in terms of, I don't think it's possible to, not anymore with the size of the teams and so on, to live off, for example, developing a game just for the Polish market. But I think these money were not allocated for the Polish games industry to sell games in Poland. I mean, yes, in Poland as well, but not Poland only, but for the, the market is global, so... Yes, to the...
But maybe, so what I think you ask if we'll become more substantial in terms of games development, yes? So I think we are definitely on the right path, and that's what I said at the very beginning. I think last year was the best proof that we are on the right path, but right now we have to keep on delivering and improving, and it has just started. So the subsidy program, it's an amazing thing. I would have never expected this to happen in Poland, maybe because I'm from the older generation and I was never expecting to get anything. So this is amazing, and I think this will be the fuel for growth. So let's see, let's meet next year here and make a fair judgment if we're going the right way still or not. And this will be probably not for us to decide. You guys, Robert, like external point of view.
Thank you for the question. Any more questions? No? Okay, well, all that's left then is to say thank you to Michał, Jarosław, Paweł, Marcin, and Michał for their time and the panel, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.